Hello, welcome to Historic Milwaukee's annual meeting. I'm Stacy Swadich, Executive Director. I'm joined tonight by staff members Grace Fuhr and Julie Griffith. On behalf of the entire board, I'm glad you could join us tonight. I'd like just to thank and welcome our board of directors, our executive committee, our president, Sarah Greenberg, vice president, Stuart Dempsey, treasurer, Tim Cotter, who you'll be hearing from very soon, and secretary, Brian Hatson. Our other board members include Karen Sensky, Gregory Davis, Madeline Gordon, David Griggs, Margaret Howland, Steve Kessel, Ahmad Omari, Jaden Rodenkirk, Kirsten Thompson, and Kenneth Worth. Of course, our executive advisors include John Gerda, who really needs no introduction, Josh Jeffers, Bruce Block, Dan Cooper, and Rick Donner, Olive Reinhardt, Kathy Keene. Again, the staff. I'm Stacy. We have with me also Grace and Julia. McKenna Krupa is our tour and membership coordinator. Our accountant, Linda Bekowitz. Our accounting assistant, Selena Fregoso. And our new accounting intern just joined us 3 weeks ago, Jaden Taylor. Tonight, the first item we have on our agenda is to vote on our new board members. Jennifer Buchanan will be joining us for her first term, which will be a 3-year term. Everyone could use the hand sign to vote. It's basically the equivalent of saying aye in a public meeting. That will vote in Jennifer for her first term on the board.
We'll give everyone a couple minutes to do that.
To raise your hand. Great. Looks great. The ayes have it, as they say. So Jennifer, welcome to the Board of Directors of Historic Milwaukee. Up next for their second term are board members Karen Sensky and Kirsten Thompson. Again, if you could raise your hand to vote for Karen and Kirsten, we would appreciate it. Terrific. The ayes have it again. So again, thank you, Karen and Kirsten, for staying on for a second term with Historic Milwaukee. The last ballot we have before you tonight is the officers for Historic Milwaukee. We are maintaining our current list of board members in these positions. That again is Sarah as president, Stuart as vice president, Tim Cotter as treasurer, and Brian as secretary. Again, if you could raise your hand and vote for this slate of officers, that would be terrific. Great, it looks like everyone's done voting. I'm thrilled to announce that they are all again rejoining us in that capacity. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. So we're going to welcome Tim Cotter to talk about our financials this evening.
Sounds good. Can you hear me, Grace?
We can hear you. Thanks.
Okay, good. Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm just going to take a minute to walk through a few slides on the financials. As you all know, 2020 was a very challenging year for many organizations out there, but I think suffice it to say that through a lot of creativity and sweat equity, I suppose you could call it, we fared pretty well here at HMI. So the top line there, you can see program income. That was actually down 50% from prior years. From the prior year, merchandise income held relatively steady, a bit up from the prior year. So while program income was down, merchandise, membership, donations, and then grants and some paycheck protection funds coming in really closed the gap for us. So you can see total income was $491,637, which was slightly down from 20, or actually slightly up from 2019. And then expenses at $461,388 was a 6% reduction from the prior year. Net income looks a little bit strong, just given some of the recognition of COVID gap filling grants at the end of the year, which were recognized. So all in all, pretty good financial outcome for a very challenging year. Go to the next slide. So this slide talks about our balance sheet, does a deep, I guess, high level summary of where our assets are held. So the largest asset at this point, something that we've taken a concerted effort in improving is our liquidity, kind of rainy day funds for to keep on hand. So checking and savings, it comprises the bulk of our assets at this point. Second to that is our store inventory, merchandise inventory, that's held steady year over year. We did start the year with a money market account, which we established just last year, looking to earn some income on our savings. With the onset of the pandemic, a decision was made to put that back into savings just in case we needed it. It turns out we didn't, so we no longer have a money market account at this point, but really feel like we're in a strong position based on the asset mix and again, coming out of a challenging year in 2020 to where we stand today. So next slide, please. So this is really our punchline, something that we're proud of. The staff is very proud of. You can see going from almost 10 years ago, the organization was really running fairly lean on our savings. So with any organization, you know, we want to have just like every organization, we want to have rainy day funds or funds in on hand in case issues come up. Certainly last year was one of those instances, and we're happy to report that we fared fairly well. And again, that number is a bit higher than prior years, and some of that is just thanks to, number one, you know, additional merchandise sales, 2, additional donations and support from our members, 3, some program income or grant income that was COVID related and really helped us offset some of the downturn that we saw in program revenue. And I think that's it there. Next slide, please. 2020 audit is still in process, basically completed. We're just waiting on a readout from our auditor, Ritz Holman. From where we stand today, sounds like that went very well. So we're gonna have our final audit delivered, I believe, in the next month or so. We'll, as usual, file our nonprofit tax return, the Form 990, with the IRS and the state of Wisconsin. And for those interested, past returns are available in our office for review and online publicly at guidestar.org. And then I would just add, for anyone that has specific questions, feel free to ask them, I believe in the chat, Grace, or follow up with me directly offline, and I can get you specific details or answers on anything.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, that's great. Again, like Tim said, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat or reach out to any of us at HMI and we can get more details. I see a few folks raising their hands. So again, if you have questions, we can get to them. Either use the Q&A or the chat that we will check out towards the end. I'm gonna hand it over to Stacy to talk a little bit more about financials.
Great. Just a little bit regarding 2021 financials. Historic Milwaukee received a first payroll protection loan last year, which was fully forgiven. We were eligible to apply and we received a second payroll protection loan. The limit for that was you had to experience at least a 25% revenue loss in a single quarter last year when comparing 2019 to 2020, which we met that criteria. We will anticipate a full forgiveness of that $40,000 later this year when the SBA makes the application available. We also applied for an employee retention credit. This is waiving the taxes paid on our employees. That you can now use in addition to a payroll protection loan as long as they don't overlap. That amount will be a little over $15,000, and that will help this year's bottom line. When the board approved our budget for 2021, we drafted a deficit budget that included a loss of $18,000. A lot of the budget was very hard to project based on pandemic and vaccination rates and how quickly people would return to doing tours and our other public programming. We continue to solicit new memberships and donations. We always are applying for new grants. We hope our tour, event, and merchandise revenue this year will exceed our projections. And as a last resort, as Tim said, we rely on our savings to close that projected $18,000 gap. All right, with that, I'm going to move forward and turn it back over to Grace.
So we want to first give a big shout out to our volunteers. You can see pictures of some of our board members here and staff and just individual volunteers that help with our walking tours, Faces and Traces, and Doors Open. We were sad to miss a lot of these faces in the last year, but we're definitely looking forward to welcoming our volunteers back. And we do have our volunteer tour guides up and running this year. So thank you so much to those of you who have helped out our organization by being a volunteer. We really rely on your time and talent. So COVID, of course, had a huge impact on our in-person delivery model in the last year, but we were still able to pivot our programming to host 6 events in the last year virtually, attracting more than 300 attendees. Those events included a book reading with John Gerda and our accounting intern, Selena Fergoso, in English and Spanish of Gertie the Duck, a virtual house history class series that we host with Nancy Torphy and Carolyn Caldwell, and a virtual tour of the Frederick Koenig Mansion with board member Stuart Dempsey, a lecture on women's rights and suffrage with UW professor Genevieve McBride, funded by the Wisconsin Humanities Council. We also were able to pivot Doors Open last year to be hosted virtually. So thanks to all of you who were able to attend and view a lot of that programming. We offered 85 building tours online. This is one example of Alice's Garden, which offered photo tours, video tours, 360 tours of several sites. We also were able to have 7 live virtual events. This is a screenshot of our Neighborhood Gems program that we're going to be bringing back for this coming Doors Open, that featured 7 neighborhood leaders talking about arts and development in their neighborhoods. We offered 3 video tours of Haven Woods, Lindsay Heights, and Clark Square, and those are still on our YouTube channel and available to view for free anytime. So we encourage you to look at those if you have not. We partnered with Artists Working in Education for an art activity, virtual music performances with City Hall and Black Wisconsin Historical Society, a water passport, an activity book, and so much more. We love this quote: "With all the uncertainty in the world today, I'm thankful that you are still able to make this event happen virtually. This has opened my eyes to how diverse and beautiful our city and surrounding areas truly are." And thanks so much to these generous supporters for making last year's program possible. I'm pleased to announce that Doors Open 2021 will be returning somewhat normal capacity beginning September 25th. So on the 25th and 26th, we'll offer in-person tours of, you can see pictured here, the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra building. We're very excited to be partnering with them to open their doors completely for free both days of the event. And we will also have virtual programming through October 3rd, 2 new app tours that we're developing of the Silver City neighborhood and Villard, and a Fun for Lake Michigan water passport scavenger hunt. So stay tuned for details on that. We'll be looking to announce our full list of participating sites on August 16th. This last year, we were also able to host our Remarkable Milwaukee program, also virtually, honoring the Thrive On Collaboration Group, Greater Milwaukee Foundation, MCW, and Royal Capital Development for their work on the Schuster Gimbels building on King Drive. So look out for that development as it progresses. And thanks to our generous sponsors. And you have pictured here Brigitta Wilson, who is the community outreach coordinator for Thrive On Group, and Kevin Newell of Royal Capital Group. And they also just purchased a MPS building that they're going to be rehabbing. So they're doing a lot of great work in historic preservation. Most recently, we took one of our bigger event, Spaces and Traces, and we were able to host that virtually. The event would have taken place in person in Harambe and River West last spring, but that was just a couple months after the shutdown order happened, and we were still kind of figuring out what virtual programming looked like. So we were pleased to be able to still host the program. We had done a ton of research already, thanks to our volunteer researchers, and Julia Griffith doing a lot of that major heavy lifting before the pandemic had shut all of those resources down. So we had a lot of that content, and then we were able to go and take photos of all of the homes that initially said that they would participate. We're still able to participate virtually. So Julia and I actually went out with our photography equipment and photo documented the homes, so that we were able to share this program online for people to view. We had 20 properties, homes, and a couple of commercial properties. And we're really pleased with how the event turned out. We did also have several virtual programs as part of the event. A presentation on the restoration of a River West funeral home with homeowner and architect and historic Milwaukee tour guide Keith Stakowiak, a talk by John Gerda and the histories of Harambe and River West, a group discussion on gentrification with Reggie Jackson and Zeidler Group, and a talk about historic King Drive with Deshay Aji, formerly executive director of the historic King Drive Business Improvement District. So we learned a lot about the neighborhoods through those virtual programs, and we got a lot of really positive feedback on hosting those programs virtually so that people could view the properties and watch those. So we'll be looking to most likely have some virtual component to the program moving forward as well. As part of Spaces and Traces, we were also able to add a new app to Historic Milwaukee's apps of the Beer Line Trail. Here's some pictures of the trail, which is a historic railway corridor through Harambe and River West neighborhoods. And the photo on the lower right-hand corner is the beginning of what's going to become a linear park. So stay tuned for details on that. The River West Community Group, or Riverworks Community Group, is doing a lot of work on developing that space, but the app is still available for download, so you can take that anytime for free. These are the outcomes from our Spaces and Traces program. 350 people attended the programs and took online tours. 209 people took the Beer Line app tour. 70% said the program improved their perception of Harambe and River West. 77% said they plan to visit these neighborhoods in person, and 25% attended Spaces and Traces for the first time. I'm going to hand it over to Julia Griffith, our program director.
Musical chairs. So after the pandemic really started and the stay-at-home order began, we quickly realized that our regular walking tours in person were going to be on a bit of a hiatus, but we still wanted to create great content that would allow you and all of our members to safely explore this great city and engage with content that we at HMI love. So we did a driving tour, Drive with HMI, with sites based on the mural that the Bayview Printing Company did in our office and is behind me, as you can see on our little green screen. And then we also did, in conjunction with the lecture that Genevieve gave, a tour of the East Side Commercial District, which is the historic financial district where our office is located, the lovely Mackey building being highlighted on the cover. And thanks to funding from the Wisconsin Humanities Council, we were able to do that tour, which actually both of these are available. The driving tour is available for purchase on paper or as a digital file. And then the Historic Financial District Tour is available for purchase, or you can check out a copy from our office for free, use it for a couple of hours and bring it right back to us. And then, as Grace mentioned, we also developed and launched our first 2 app-based tours. You can find Historic Milwaukee Inc. in the app or Android Play Store. So the first 2 tours were Diverse Downtown, an exploration of BIPOC and women, and Milwaukee Moderns is modern architecture downtown, basically from 1950-ish to today. And it's a great exploration of the layers of history architecturally. So these are the first in what will become a full complement. So coming soon, we're going to have Yankee Hill narrated by our good friend John Gerda, and Brady Street, which is going to be narrated by Keith Stakoyak. So we're very excited about those. And we're going to also, as Grace somewhat mentioned, look to integrate new app tours in different areas of the city, covering different topics in future Doors Open, Spaces and Traces programs, and just in general throughout the year. So if you have any ideas, I would love to hear them. I'm brimming with them, but it's great to get people in their own communities kind of sharing with us as well. And then this is sort of just an update, but in 2019 for 2020, we received a grant from the Society for Architectural Historians to do landscape and architecture tours for underserved students in grades 3 through high school. And clearly the pandemic has thwarted that effort a bit, but we are still hopeful that the grant will allow us to bring 400 students from low-income schools for our student-focused walking tour, which complements typically 3rd and 4th grade education in the state of Wisconsin. And it includes both a bus stipend and a tour guide stipend. And so we will see what MPS in particular has on store for field trips in the fall. And we are very grateful to SAH for being flexible as we attempt to do this program safely, because we do very much enjoy bringing kids downtown. And then walking tours are back Wednesday through Sunday. You can tour with HMI, and soon Tuesdays on the Hop. We have quite a complement of tours. Bayview, North Point Mansions, a beloved favorite that's back after a year away. Downtown, the Riverwalk. We plan to have sculpture and some great special tours as well. So please do register in advance. We have limited capacity based on headset systems and other safety. So we do like to know who's coming. Even if you're a member, we do ask that you register in advance. And all the other information about various policies is listed on our website.
Stacy? Terrific. Back in the driving chair here. I just wanted to share kind of the mission and history of our store. I know many of you have visited. One of the great perks of being a member is you receive a 10% discount on all items in our store. We're part of the Museum Store Association, and really one of the interesting things about having a nonprofit store gift shop is it's a revenue generator for us that allows us to fill and supply that unrestricted revenue. It's not tied to a specific grant. We also really look for the educational relevance with all of our products and kind of act as a brand ambassador for our mission and values. So if you haven't visited our store, either in person or online, I encourage you to do so. A few more items that are available in our store. One of the new things we just launched this past April is we created our very own puzzle. You can see it in the upper left-hand corner. It was designed by our wonderful staff member, Julia, and it incorporates all of the city neighborhood posters in one. It is a 1,000-piece puzzle. It's a little bit of a brain stumper, but we're excited. We've had great feedback on that as well, right? Some upcoming events and tours we have. We're going to have some special tours that highlight Walker's Point churches, a family and kid focused tour that kind of follows the book Lulu and Rocky, who explore downtown Milwaukee. Thank you to board member Stewart, who is opening his lovely historic home garden for a party in his house in July. As Grace mentioned, Doors Open will be in person September 25th and 26th and virtually through October 3rd. We're really looking forward to a big announcement next spring, 2021. We're returning to downtown, which marks the location of our very first Spaces and Traces more than 40 years ago.